Tonight on That's Dark.
A queen of resilience and faith, whose marriage to King Henry VIII ignited a religious and political revolution that reshaped the course of English history forever. Follow us through the intriguing life of Katherine of Aragon. Hello, everybody, and welcome.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Alyssa. And it is retrograde.
Yeah.
It's
you
it's
and your
bad.
advice.
Oh my god. Okay. I gotta say this real quick. So not that long ago, like right at the beginning of retrograde, I made the mistake of telling Heather, oh, I'm just gonna ignore the retrograde.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Well, never say that. I will never say that again.
It affected me too.
Oh my god.
You like brought it into
Oh
me.
my god.
Like
It's
so
been so
hard.
bad. It has been a rough
Communication.
trash.
Work has actually been pretty good, so I will give it that. But like the thing about retrograde is it's usually about your communication
and technology. So
communication
luckily,
has been
the communication has been
bunkety-bunk.
the main thing, and just whack.
And I just feel
stuff.
like
It
fumbly. Does that make
Yes.
sense? Like I'm very like fumbly about everything.
Everybody feels very aggressive.
Yes.
Too.
It does.
Like everything's really.
I
aggressive.
take it aggressive too.
Me too.
Everything
I
I
normally
take
don't.
very aggressive, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, you want? Oh, but they might not be trying to fight, but I'm over here like.
And you know me, even when it comes to like comments and stuff, I typically
don't
just
care.
don't really look at
No.
comments ever. But I was seeking out angry comments so I could just be a bitch.
Did we get angry comments?
No. But I was looking for them so that I could be a bitch.
Dude, we won't talk about the situation, but when you're messaging me, I was like, oh!
Yeah.
She's angry.
See, that's not me. That's very out of character.
No, it's not, but it was
So
kind of funny.
this-
I'm not going to lie.
This retrograde.
I was kind of here for it. I was here for sassy Alyssa.
Yes.
I was here for sassy
Yes.
Alyssa. It was.
I think it's a main thing from a stunt that my father pulled on my birthday. And I've just
kicked
been
up
in
your sass.
a real bad mood.
You're like,
since then.
no. Mm-hmm. No one else is pulling this shit in my life.
That's
no
it,
one.
exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what. I'm very happy tonight. I got Liz back, so
Yes.
I'm so happy about that. And then
Today's been
like
good.
it's been good today, except like I was so many meetings that I didn't even get to see her. Like we were just like because it was so many meetings, and now we have the Grinchmas party.
Yes.
So
I'm very
we were
excited.
actually driving down here, like, because we're doing the give a gift, where you have to give alcohol. You take a shot, you don't know what it is, then you have to do the action. So me and Liz are driving down here, like
wait.
writing down all these. I got such good ones.
Oh my god,
I got
so
such
excited.
good ones, like that. It came up from my head. Can you imagine?
Oh my god. Well, I can only imagine. I got all the stuff for the Jello shots, and I'm excited. Oh my god, dude, I have such a good idea for this one. So, I'm still going to make the Jello. I'm going to infuse the vodka in that, too.
Yes.
But not as much, because I bought maraschino cherries. I'm going to make
Yes.
some with and some without, because I know some people are
The kids,
very
too.
harsh against, like, maraschino cherries. So, what I'm going to do is soak the cherries in vodka, and I'm going to put them in because I got green Jello, and it's going to be like the Grinch heart.
Oh my god, that's so perfect. But you still got to put
Yes.
vodka in the Jello
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
We need like a punch in
Yeah,
the face.
definitely. I'm not gonna make them as strong because that was pretty strong.
Yes,
That's-
that didn't think so.
I guess not. Maybe I'll do it the same, and then also put it in the cherries.
Then maybe he won't need, what was it, like 636?
I think he had 36.
36 Jello shots.
Yeah, he's just walking around with the plate. Jello shots.
With the whole thing that wasn't even made up. He's like, like my favorite. I could have got a picture of that night of him just like,
Well, you
hey.
can get one on Friday.
Yeah, and it's really fun with this party because I told everyone I'm a theme kind of girl. I just love themes. And so we're doing Grinchmas, but I was like, I don't want everyone to have to dress up like a Who.
Yeah.
So I told everyone to dress up basically as like you could dress up from someone from your favorite movie, from like a classic Christmas story, from a ugly sweater. Just basically do something festive. Me and Alyssa were planning on dressing up as the Mean Girls.
Yep.
She got her costume, which is some kind of lingerie. Because I am a fatty.
Oh
my God.
No, it's not a bad thing. I had a hard time. Like, I ordered one, and it was like, it fit everywhere. I have to show you when you're over. It fit everywhere except right here and then my arms. I was like this. Everywhere else was good. But it looked like I had plates for boobs, and I was like...
Oh, when it smushes them down.
Yeah, but I was, like, stuck in it. Like,
does this look good?
So then I ordered another one, it didn't fit. So then I ordered one that was lingerie, and I was like, this will be good.
It'd be good for something else.
I'd have to wear like pasties, and if I tried to put a bra with it, it would look like it was like one of those old girls.
Oh my God. Have like a slip on.
I should have done that like from Reno 911. When she wears the lingerie, she wears her old lady bra underneath it. It's the most. But anyways, it didn't go well. So poor Alyssa, she has to go.
I'm gonna be a lone mean girl.
In more decent lingerie than what I had.
It's not revealing. Oh, I mean, it's still like lingerie-esque, but it's very short, so I have to wear like leggings under it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's like just a normal top-looking thing.
Yeah. So I quickly, regrouped, and I'm being the ghost of Christmas Past.
I can't wait to see it.
I'm excited too.
You know what my very first option was? But I just was not going to spend $50 on it.
Huh.
Remember A Christmas Story with the bunny, the onesie?
Okay, that's pretty amazing.
I wanted
that
it so
$50
bad.
though is a lot.
I know. I was like, that's just stupid. And then in my search of that, I found the fucking leg lamp outfit. Someone could be the leg lamp.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. All right. Well, we should probably get into... Yes. So I know I've been talking about randomly here and there about how I want to cover King Henry's wives.
Yes.
So I am a huge history buff. I love history. I also love Broadway. And there's this awesome Broadway show called Six. And it's really exciting because I feel like they kind of brought these ladies' stories back to life sensationally, because it's Broadway, but they really kind of brought them back to life and like put them back in the light, right? Because they're never like, when you hear about anything with King Henry, it's just King Henry's wives. And mainly you hear Anne Boleyn because she was kind of like the most notorious one. I'm going to go on a series that every other one I'll be covering each one of his wives, kind of telling their story, giving their background, giving like what happened to them, what happened to them, and like basically how did they shape the monarchy.
Oh yeah.
Because they all kind of did in their own way.
Yes.
They shaped it, So today we are going to be talking about Katherine of Aragon, the Princess of Spain, who was his very first wife. So let's get into it. So before Henry, I call it early life BH. Before Henry.
Before Henry. Love that.
So first I got to show a picture because I thought she was actually quite
so pretty.
She's got the light eyes like so many Spanish people do. And I just thought I had to put that in there. There's some other like non-complimentary pictures of her. I just thought this one kind of represented who she was before she got entangled with Henry and like the English crown and everything. So born on December 16th, 1485 in Alcalá de Henares, I probably butchered that, near Madrid, Spain, Katherine of Aragon was the youngest daughter of the monarchs who had united the country, King Ferdinand II of Aragon and Queen Isabella of Castile. Now, I didn't say much about her mother, but that's a whole nother search you have to do.
Okay.
Queen Isabel was a badass woman. And you should totally look her up. And maybe one day I will do a podcast on her.
You're going to have to because you make history interesting.
I try.
When I research it, it's not as interesting.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad because, like, I really love it. And I try to put it in, like, terms that, like, people will be like, okay, I get it. Like, instead of just rambling on. But, yeah, if you read about Queen Isabella, she was a badass woman. She was literally... She fought by her husband in wars. She wore pants.
Hell yeah.
She was amazing. So, also, she was supposed to be kind of mean, but I don't care. I still think she was awesome. I never, like, take into account when people back then say they're mean, because I feel like that's just them not playing the feminine game. Right. I'm not saying that everyone wasn't mean, but I'm just saying. I feel like it was taken like, oh, she's mean. She's a bitch. Not that they said bitch, but they did. But you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So, siblings to Catherine were Isabella, Juana, and Maria. I'm guessing the family names. I just thought it was funny. There was Juan and then Juana. And they weren't twins or anything.
What?
So, yeah. Catherine's childhood experiences were quite fascinating. She witnessed the surrender of Moors in Granada, and she also witnessed Columbus's first voyage to the New World. So she was in Spain when he did that first voyage. Also, Catherine was able to choose her own badge, which was consistent of a pomegranate. I'm going to explain that in a second. But basically, this ends up being quite appropriate because the fruit is hard on the outside, which symbolizes Catherine's tough attitude, and soft on the inside, which symbolizes fertility. So here's my take on that, right? I feel like she was strategic. Yeah. So a badge is like your symbol, like your crest. Mm-hmm. And she chose the pomegranate. And it's interesting because I'm going to relate it to like the Grecian stories of Hades and Persephone. The pomegranate is so pivotal in her becoming the queen of the underworld. Oh. So I feel like she strategically chose the pomegranate to show I'm queen. Yep. I'm going to be a queen. I'm fertile. I'm serious. Because that's what they're wanting. That's what they look at. Are you going to produce me the son that I need?
I'm a queen, and I'm fertile.
And I am fertile. This is all full of seeds that need to be. So I feel like she was smart.
The pomegranate, I feel like that's me. A hard exterior and then just soft inside.
And fertile.
Yeah,
because you give it to other people, which is awesome. Yes. But yeah, I thought that it kind of gave me an insight into who she was. Yeah. That I felt like that was very strategic of her, and she got to choose her own. So it wasn't that her family was choosing it for her. Cool. So I feel like she was placing herself.
And then when you say badge, what is
who they are?
Okay, so
who
it's
they
just
carry,
the representation of themselves, or is it physically on something of theirs?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Oh yeah, it will be physically on things. Okay. So it would be something that would hang in her bed chamber, things like that. Okay. So absolutely, but it also just represents her, right, who she is.
Got it.
So when you think of her, you're like, oh, she's a pomegranate. She's super squishy, and she's got some fertilization in there. And they're like, oh yeah, she's got a pomegranate. I'm going to go plant some seeds. Yep. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. Mm-hmm. As a child, she had been given the best education that money could buy, of course, being tutored in feminine domestic arts such as sewing, music and dancing, and religious instruction. And she was Catholic. She also immersed herself in developing a scholarship of the Renaissance and mastered written and spoken Latin as well as modern languages. As a result, once in England, she was able to hold her own with some of the top humanists of the day, among them the Dutchman Erasmus and Sir Thomas More, which were they're humanists during that time frame. Catherine received an I already said that. She also watched her parents deal with diplomatic and militaristic issues. In 1489, arrangements were made between Spain and England that betrothed Katherine of Aragon to Arthur, Prince of Wales, who was next in line to receive the English crown. This betrothal was made in order to keep the peace between two of the most powerful nations of Europe. I do want to also just put this in here. So tragedy struck the family in 1498 when Catherine's sister Isabella, Queen of Portugal, died in childbirth. Although this tragedy hurt the royal family of Spain, in 1501, Catherine left Spain to England to marry Arthur, and they were married November 14th on 1501. Why I wanted to put that in there is that why it's tragic is it's all because of their placement. So even if which I'm sure they did, I'm not saying they didn't, even if they loved their children, why she was given that, which I think is smart, because in England they didn't do the same thing. So why she was given, her father, I think, set Catherine up better than most would have, because her job was to marry. Yeah. Her job was to marry and to align the crown with other countries. That is her job. So when Queen Isabella, the daughter, went over to Portugal, that was an alliance. So that was a strategic move. So when she died, that broke the alliance. And so they need to quickly hurry and get someone else over there from Spain to keep that alliance. Because basically it means you got my back, I got yours, we're not going to go to war. Yeah. That's what they were sending Queen Catherine over. You're going to marry Arthur, we're going to be set.
Yes.
Where, you know, England's got our back, we got their back, we're safe, you know? And also there's other things to do with that whole treaty. But that's the whole point, is they have these children. King Ferdinand would keep his son, the first son, to be the next king. And then the daughters would be married off to form alliances.
Okay.
So after the wedding of Arthur and Catherine, they set up their household in Ludlow Castle on the Welsh border. They lived there together for several months before, in the spring of 1502, both were taken ill with a well-known malady of the time called the sweating sickness. I had to go on. I needed to know about the sweating sickness, so I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
I had to go on a little tangent because I've heard of the sweating sickness so many times.
Never heard of it.
Okay. Also known as the sweating sickness and simply the sweats, this so-called English sweat, which claimed Arthur, Prince of Wales' life, because he's going to die from it, life has remained a medical mystery for centuries, reaching epidemic proportions of no less than 5 occasions during the late 15th century and early 16th century. Sweating sickness was highly lethal. Physician John Caius, whose book about the illness remains the most famous account from the time period, noted that the death could occur within 3 hours of the onset of symptoms.
Shit.
And that those who survived the first 24 hours would usually make a full recovery, although surviving did not evidently prevent the patients from contracting the disease again. Sweating sickness was confined almost exclusively to England during its outbreaks, ravaging the wealthy more often than the poor. And yet, for all of its virulence, the sweats seemed to disappear almost as suddenly as they appeared in the first place, with no known outbreaks after 1578. Yeah.
What? And it affected the rich more?
Yeah. So it went through the rich more than it did the poor.
That's interesting.
While the disease disappearance no doubt saved thousands of lives, it has also stymied modern medical investigators hoping to understand what claimed the life of Arthur and so many of his subjects. Part of the trouble stems from the sweating sickness symptoms: fever, chills, aches, delirium, and of course intense sweating, which are common to a number of diseases including influenza, scarlet fever, typhus, yet never seem to fit exactly in strength and duration or combination with any known medical issue. The most common modern theory suggests that the outbreaks may have been a form of hantavirus, similar to the hantavirus pulmonary syndrome that struck the American Southwest in the 1990s. I don't remember this
I have
at
never
all.
heard of that.
Exactly why the virus, it was indeed the cause, would disappear so suddenly, it is not known. But some scholars suggest that it could be a result of the virus evolving in a way that made it less deadly or less easily spread to humans. But anyways, Catherine survives.
Of course she does.
She survived. She got it. She survived 24 hours. She's good. Arthur died on April 2nd, 1502, after a mere 5 months of marriage. So they've only been married, but they have been together. They've only been married for 5 months. Okay. So though the couple was subjected, so here's Catherine, right? And she's supposed to keep this alliance. That is her goal.
Job.
She is supposed to have this alliance. Well, she literally got, the King of England. She's going to marry him. She's going to be queen. He dies. She has no idea what to do, right? A weird thing is they put her in the Tower of London because they didn't know what to do with her yet. So she was put into the Tower of London because they didn't know.
Yeah.
So Catherine goes on a campaign about the fact that, because which will kind of go through this, but I want to put this in there. She got to know Henry, who's going to be King Henry VIII, right? She got to know him. King Henry fell in love with her, loved her, right? He thought she was smart. Yep. He thought she was beautiful, which I think she was very beautiful. And he loved her. But you could not marry back. It was a sin for a monarch to marry someone that has already had their virginity taken from them.
Oh my God.
Even though it would have been still the same bloodline.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, though the couple was subjected to a bedding ceremony, which is basically when they will walk the newlyweds were escorted to share a bed on their wedding night by members of the court and were seen to lay down together. Catherine would later insist that the marriage was never consummated, evidently due to Arthur's infirmity, which means that I don't know if that meant he couldn't get, like, he was sick and couldn't get it up. I don't know. But it was perpetrated it was basically, she was saying it was a lack of consummation that would ultimately lead to the approval for Catherine to marry Arthur's brother, King Henry. But doubts over the story would play a significant role in the kicking of the English Reformation. So this whole thing is like now constructing like a big change, which we're going to get to, of what England's going to go through. So basically this is what people accounted. They have actual accounts of Arthur after the wedding night. So the body evidence of how Arthur greeted his friends on the morning after his wedding sounds like the well-rehearsed tale of a teenager trying to impress. The prince emerged from his chamber and called servant Anthony Willoughby over with words, "Willoughby, bring me a cup of ale, for I have been this night in the midst of Spain." Then to all of the others present, "Masters, it is a good pastime to have a wife." So he's like, I did her. It's like basically what he's saying is like, people, I did my wife. Like, he's like, I did it. He's 15 years old. She's 15 years old.
Oh my God.
He's like, yeah, I got that in. That's like basically what he was saying. While other evidence suggests the frequency of their contact, only Catherine and Arthur would have known what went on behind the bedroom door. Even if there was a possibility that at the start of their life together, Arthur was unsure exactly of what to do, what his duty of husband entailed, that would surely have been corrected over time. Unless, of course, there was some medical reason he wasn't able to make his wife pregnant. She stayed firm that she was a virgin and secured her spot to marry Henry VIII. I do want to bring up the fact that I just think she was so smart.
Yep.
Because I think she knew, because I'll tell you, so they're going to have a doctor. So basically, so it was a sin, right, for them to marry. So she had to fight. Mm-hmm. She even let them have a doctor, the royal physician, come in and check her and deemed her a virgin for the marriage to happen.
Oh my God, how ridiculous.
Now with
the royal doctor.
Now with modern medicine. Mm-hmm. I feel like she was a smart girl, and she was like, yeah, he's not going to be able to tell.
Right.
There's no way, There's no way this guy's going to be able to tell. So I'm going to say, yeah, check me. Cool. Yeah, it's all good, right? And then the royal physician was like, she is in fact a virgin. So
she's like, I knew he couldn't. I knew he wouldn't be able to tell.
I knew that he was a stupid man and wouldn't be able to tell, and now I have secured. And then like the same thing, like I feel like when I look at her picture, I feel like she was a Spitfire. I feel like she was like her mother. And I feel like she was like, I'm smart, Also, during that time, her and Henry got to know each other. I feel like it was all very strategic. I think this girl was full of smarts and knew what she had to do to keep her place. Like I said, the pomegranate, everything. It just like, I don't know, much respect to her. That's how I felt. Like I had a lot of respect for her. I was like, because she knew that in her position, it wasn't going to be about love most of the time, right? Yeah. It was going to be about...
She had a goal and a job that she had to do.
And that's what they all did. Yeah. And she knew she had to do it for her family, for her country, for her life. Yep. Like she knew that this is what she had to do, right? So Henry married Catherine because he wanted to. That's what I was going to say. Like... that's the other thing I was going to put in here. A fun fact. If Arthur never died, then Queen Elizabeth, who just passed away, would have never been queen.
What?
Think about that. Yes. Because if he would have never died, and they would have produced children, and he would have produced a son, then King Henry would have never took that throne, and then it would not have gone down the way that it did.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know either. I have no idea.
You'll never know.
I just thought that was interesting to think about, like how things affect everything. I was like, that's just like really cool to me. So Henry married Catherine because he wanted to. So to go back, Henry wanted to marry Catherine. Catherine, 6 years Henry Sr., was considered beautiful and shared a love and they shared a love of display and finery with her husband. She and Henry rode and hunted together, and he trusted her completely. For many years, they were a very happy and devoted couple and a powerful political team, but the lack of a male heir was a critical issue. And Catherine grew older. This was a problem that Henry felt needed to be solved. Catherine disagreed, and the tensions and differences finally undermined the marriage. History wrote he deeply loved and respected her to the point she gave him advice on war and political decisions. Catherine even served as a regent and overseeing a battle with the Scots while Henry was raging war in France. So he literally respected her so much. He let her oversee a war.
Wow.
That was just unheard of back then.
Yep.
But I feel like that's testament to her mom, because King Ferdinand let her fight right beside him, or, direct, because the kings didn't fight. They're like, oh, it wasn't
absolutely.
it was more ceremonial, but he
Yeah.
let her be side by side with him. So Queen Catherine got that same, respect from, he obviously found her smart in the words she was saying, and obviously took her advice. She was smart and resilient, but her main goal, as with any queen, was to produce a male heir to be the next king of England. Henry and Catherine lost at least 5 children together.
Oh my God.
Only Mary, born in 1516, survived beyond infancy. Henry was disappointed she wasn't a boy, but still optimistic that he and Catherine would have more children. Sadly for Catherine, they did not. She may have miscarried again in the autumn of 1517. The following year, she had yet another stillborn baby. This was her last pregnancy. Henry's hopes for a son were dashed. As the years went by, Henry became restless and increasingly desperate for a son. Okay, so they had this great life together, and I'm going to let you know that they were married for 24 years. This isn't just, 24 years. And she did think that she could keep quiet, and she probably could have, but they're so, obviously she was getting on in age. She wanted it, but she did. I mean, back then, it would just crack me up that they blamed the woman.
Oh, I know.
When in fact, and that's why I'm just
She didn't give me a son.
And it's him,
Yeah.
Henry, that would have to give that, the son or the daughter. And yet the woman was blamed, and it was that the woman just was not, which we're going to get into what he thought, So in comes which we're going to get into next one, Anne Boleyn. So when French-educated Anne Boleyn became Catherine's lady-in-waiting in the early 1520s, the Queen's days were numbered. Anne was glamorous and young and captivated the Queen. As Roman Catholics, divorce was not an option. And just so you guys know, the church ruled the crown.
Yeah.
So kind of like our president, the king didn't make his decisions. The crown, the bishops made his decisions. The cardinal was the one that was like the king's, he made the decisions. So the Catholic monarch or religious, the Catholics are what's reigning the monarchy.
Yep.
So Henry's just a placeholder, or, he's not really calling the shots. As Roman Catholics, divorce was not an option, so Henry looked for another way out. He became obsessed with whether Catherine's previous marriage to her brother had been consummated, which Catherine continued to deny. So almost 24 years later, this is the reason he's pulling up.
Yeah.
The superstitious king became convinced that God was displeased that he had married his brother's widow, punishing him by denying them a son. Henry made up his mind Catherine had to go, and not even the Pope was going to prevent him from getting rid of her. So Henry asked Pope Clement to grant him a divorce from Catherine. He argued that the marriage was against God's will due to the fact that she had briefly been married to Henry's late brother Arthur. But the Pope said no. And Catherine's had a cousin who was in the English Catholic Church who was friends with the Pope. And so she was like, and Catherine said, no, I'm not granting you divorce. She was like, what did I do? I did nothing. I am the Queen of England. And the people loved her.
Yeah.
They loved her. If you read about her,
I
the
would
people loved her. Her, what they call, her, what do they call? I can't think of her name right now. The people, they're, I can't think.
I know what you're talking about, and I don't know the name.
I can't think of their names right now, but they loved her.
Yes.
She was a great queen. They thought she was fair. She was very firm in her Catholic belief, which was huge for England. They wanted to be run by the Catholic Church. So she was everything they wanted to be. But King Henry, which I don't believe that he was a superstitious man. Yeah. I believe he saw this girl, Anne Boleyn, which we were going to get into her. This girl was trained to catch that eye. Like, she trained in the French courts, and we're going to talk about it because, man, woo.
I remember you telling me
howdy.
about it. Yeah, it's crazy.
I got some things when it comes to her. But I think that she knew exactly what to do. Don't give it up. Don't give it up.
Yep.
Give him a taste. Don't give it up. And so she was like, yeah, the only way I'm going to sleep with you is if you get rid of your wife. Yep. So I feel like King Henry was a stupid man.
Yep.
And was like, okay, I'm going to get rid of my wife. I'm going to get rid of her. So, anyways, he decided, I'm the king. I'm the king. Why is this church telling me what to do? No, they're not going to do that. So, it was a clergyman, Thomas Cranmer, and the king's influential advisor, Thomas Cromwell, both Protestants, who built a convincing case that England's king should not be subject to the Pope's jurisdiction. Eager to marry Anne, Henry appointed Cranmer as the Archbishop of Canterbury, after which Cranmer quickly granted Henry's divorce from Catherine. So, in June 1533, the heavily pregnant Anne Boleyn was crowned Queen of England in a lavish ceremony. Parliament's passage of the Act of Supremacy in 1534 solidified the break from the Catholic Church and made the king the supreme head of the Church of England. When Cranmer and Cromwell in positions of power and a Protestant queen by Henry's side, England began adopting some of the lessons of the Continental Reformation. Pedigree says, including a translation of the Bible into English. So they basically, there's a lot on it. They basically, because he wanted to be with Anne, he converted the whole country from Catholic to Protestant. Because back then, you weren't allowed to be a Protestant. You would be put in jail.
Oh, my God.
You were Catholic because the crown was Catholic. And if you were found to be Protestant, in fact, they had like secret little Protestant meetings. But the Protestants came in and they're like, yeah, I don't care if you divorce Anne. That's cool. I'm your buddy and I'm a Protestant, King Henry.
You mean Catherine?
No. Like the guys, the people, Thomas Cromwell, they were like advisors of his, and they're like, hey, just, I'm a Protestant, and it's the Catholic that's stopping you. Yep. You need to get them out, make me this archbishop, and I'm going to grant you divorce, turn the whole country into Protestants, do this whole thing, and then you get Anne. So anyways, one woman shaped the future of the crown and how it looked.
That's insane.
One woman, the saucy, quote unquote sexy Anne Boleyn, who had 6 fingers on one hand.
6 fingers. Wow.
Was considered exotic.
Oh, I could, yeah.
More to hold. So, anyways, he changed the crown to Protestant. Catherine tried to fight it, but in the end, it did nothing. Yeah. She was by most accounts devastated and humiliated. She was likely the only one of King Henry's 6 wives who truly loved him, and she believed and was defiant to the end that she was truly still his rightful wife and the true Queen of England. They had been happy and loved in most of their 19 years together, and she had been a faithful companion throughout, something he did not claim. So they were together 19 years. It took that long for him to dissolve that marriage. So in total, they were together for 24 years. Wow. Interesting facts about Catherine during her time, because here we go. During her time with Henry, I just want to put this out here, even though Henry says he loved her. And here's a couple of weird things. So Catherine gained weight, and lost her great beauty because she was constantly being put a baby. Like, she literally miscarried, another baby, miscarried, another baby, stillborn, another baby. So, like, a woman's body is going through hell with that. Yeah. So, this is what they basically said. She gained weight and lost her beauty. Okay? Oh, my God. Doctors told Henry that she would not give him any more children. So, they basically signed her fate. They came, they said, we checked her, which, I mean, it was good for her to stop having kids, but because they went to him, they said, she's not going to have any more. They signed her fate.
Wow.
Which was, by all accounts, his best friend. Which, by all accounts, she was his best friend, and he just turned his back on her. Yep. So what was her life after the crown? Catherine, now Princess Dowager of Wales, so she is no longer considered a queen, they take her down to princess, was forced to leave court. After the divorce, Catherine had to endure not being allowed to see her daughter, Mary, anymore, because Mary stayed in court, because she is a royal child. And she is considered to be one of the, you know, she's going to be in line for the crown if he didn't have a son.
Yeah.
So she didn't get to go with her mom. So she had to leave her daughter. She also had to live in less comfortable circumstances than she would have been used to as Queen of England. Catherine died in 1536, probably because of cancer, they believe. When Henry heard of her death, he celebrated at a banquet, dressed in bright yellow from head to toe.
What?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The divorce and its legality was to have an interesting postscript. In 1558, Mary Tudor died. She had been the legitimate heir to the throne. Henry married Anne Boleyn in January 1533, 4 months before his divorce was announced. There he had committed bigamy. This meant, according to those who support the theory, that Anne's baby was illegitimate and had no right to the throne when Mary died in 1558. Roman Catholics believe that the rightful heir to the English throne was the person nearest in blood to Mary, and that was Mary, Queen of Scots. Yeah. The French, for example, consider to this day Mary the rightful ruler of England in 1558 and not Elizabeth. And it's funny because Elizabeth had Mary killed.
Oh my God.
My Queen of Scots, Mary Queen of Scots, she had her killed because she was a threat to her throne.
Yep.
The daughter from the marriage of Anne and Henry, so Elizabeth. So basically, and I can kind of tell you how that went. So Henry, obsessed, which I'm going to kind of close up my back there because I can talk about the rest. Mm-hmm. So Henry, obsessed with having a son. I'm just going to foreshadow for you guys, he didn't get to have a male on that throne, okay? He had a couple of males. They did not make it. Mm-hmm. He did not get to have it. So Mary, Catherine's daughter, took the throne when Henry died. Yep. So when King Henry died, and I want to say the last wife that I'm going to cover, she was wonderful. Mm-hmm. She didn't want to marry Henry, but she loved his kids and she supported them. And they speak so well of her and about how she just basically got them all together. She's the reason Elizabeth, which was Anne's daughter, because at first she was shunned. Yep. And she brought them all together. But Mary then was prepped to take the crown, which she did. Mary was married to someone from Spain. You know, the king of Spain at that time, you know, some weird interest stuff going on there. So then she was obsessed with getting pregnant because she knew, and that's the thing, like, you are just a death sentence if you didn't produce an heir. So she was obsessed with getting pregnant, and then she actually went crazy, and she thought she was pregnant, but they found that it was stomach cancer. They believe it was stomach cancer, so she dies. So then Elizabeth, which is Anne's daughter, is the only surviving quote-unquote heir, because Mary, Queen of Scots, was a surviving heir. But Anne Boleyn, because in truth, you know, if that whole thing with the crown didn't happen with the Catholics, she would have been illegitimate, so she would have took the throne. But Queen Elizabeth had one of the longest, which I will cover her one day, one of the longest standing reigns, and besides the queen that just died. Yeah. In all of history. And you want me to tell you what she did? Would not marry, would not have children, and told England, I am married to you.
Hell yeah.
And absolutely, she would not. And then unfortunately, she did go have Mary put to death because she was a threat. But at the same time, during that time, and Mary, Queen of Scots is one of my direct descendants, but you had to do what you had to do, right? And she was like, she's a threat. But she would not marry. And they pushed her to marry, and they pushed her to marry. So I just thought it was hilarious. I want to put that out there. Hilarious that King Henry was so fixated on having a boy. And from his point of death, only women until now have owned that throne.
I fucking love that. That makes me so happy.
Right?
But also, it's like, look what happened to Catherine.
I know.
She's so dedicated.
Yep.
His best friend stood by his side through everything. And then
19
he's
years.
Oh, pretty shiny new object.
Yep. And I guess he had lots of infidelity, tons of it, and she didn't care. She was like, because that's what the king did. She was like, I'm going to turn my head. Yep. She's like, I don't care. I'm focused on my crown. I'm focused on my throne. I'm focused on the people. So she just was doing her duty as who she was, and stayed by his side. Yeah. And then the other thing is, I read lots of accounts that he would go out to the dowager's house and visit her and still get her counsel. When he was with Anne. And by the way, let me tell you, wait till we get into the story of Anne Boleyn. Whoo! Boy, howdy.
I can't wait to hear, because I remember you talking a little bit about her a while ago. And oh my God.
Let's just say that Henry realizes he made a big ass mistake. Yep. And then there comes, we're in the 6th, in the musical, it says, divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived. So we're at divorced.
Yep.
The next is beheaded. And that's it. That's Katherine of
boy.
Aragon. I thought she was very smart. I'm so sad that it didn't work out. And she tried to fight the good fight. And but it's interesting because they now are looking back and they do believe she died of cancer and that Mary got the same cancer, you know, but I get goosebumps when I think about that. Literally a woman held that throne.
Oh, hell yeah.
From the time he died until just recently.
Yep.
I just think that's like poetic justice.
It is.
You know?
That's like the best kind of like karma ever for him.
Yep. Because he basically throws away wives because of that son issue. But honestly, let's just be honest. He throws away wives because he realized he could get it and get away with it.
Yep.
And it went to his head. So then, you're not giving me a son? Out. You're not giving me a son? I'm going to create a reason because I've done it.
Exactly.
I changed the whole way the country thinks. So now think of the God complex you got.
Yep.
So yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, everybody, as you can tell, I really love history and I get really, really excited to talk about it.
You love it because it makes me love it because it's interesting when you talk about it.
It gets so exciting. And let me tell you, Tudor history, some of the most crazy ass stuff goes on. I mean, I'm talking like the plots, everyone, like the whole thing of like, keep your enemies close. That was like the whole thing about being a king, a queen in the monarchy, in that type of area. You had to like have a knife in your front and a knife in your back to protect yourself because you were going to literally be taken out if they could get you taken out. So
I wish that they would explain things the way you do more because it's so crazy. Some of the shit is just crazy. But then when you like I've tried to listen to other podcasts or videos on it and I'm just like, God, they're putting me to sleep.
I know.
But it's like crazy shit.
Yeah, it is crazy.
But it's like explained so boring.
I know. I think they just kind of, I don't know why. I agree because like I have a hard time. Like I have to find some very specific people that love history that can really deliver it in a way that's like exciting and dynamic. But otherwise it's like, blah, 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 blah. And you're just like, and I just want to put it in ways that like I think people nowadays will understand. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, you know? So,
Wild shit.
Yeah. So I won't be doing it on King Henry because you'll learn about King Henry as we go through each one of his wives.
A little piece of shit.
Yeah, they pretty much were in the crown.
Almost everybody was then and had to be. So.
Yeah, they had to be. And also, you know, spoiled sons and all that good stuff. So, yeah.
Love that.
That's it.
I've got a fun one. I'm going to do the predictions for the next one.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And then I can't wait to hear about Anne Boleyn next.
Yes. So. And then we got Daddy Mercury.
Oh my God. All right. Since we're in retrograde currently, it has made us decide. We are doing a whole episode on Mercury retrograde, but it's not just Mercury retrograde. It is just Daddy Mercury. Because
he whips your ass.
Yes, he does. He sure does. And not in a fun way.
No. Not in a like, ooh, I like that. No. It's like, oh, what did I do? Be over? So I'm excited for that one too.
I can't wait. That'll be really fun.
We'll do predictions and then I'll do the crazy ass story of Anne Boleyn and her saucy self that was her demise, essentially. So all right, everybody.
All right, well, that's all we have for you this week, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys. Bye.